Hello everybody, welcome back to another Dark and Darker video. Today, we're gonna look at why Cleric is OP right now. And really, it's quite simple. It's because Cleric has access to the Ruby Silver Cuirass, and they shouldn't have access to it. This has happened before in the past, where the Ruby Silver or Cobalt items are allowed to be worn on a class they should not be allowed to be worn on. So real quick, I have up on the screen right now, Purple Templar armor versus Purple Fine Cuirass. And what this allows the Cleric to do is build a really heavy physical damage reduction setup, much heavier than they should be able to. And those last percentage points of physical damage reduction is where it all matters, because if you get up into the higher percentages, that's when your health starts multiplying over and over and over. The first couple of percents of physical damage reduction really don't matter compared to the last couple of percents. Along with that, Ruby Silver Cuirass is way easier to get your hands on than Purple Templar armor. Templar armor is very rare and very hard to find, and so Ruby Silver Cuirass is oftentimes cheaper while also being better. So there's an overabundance of this armor, and it makes it incredibly easy for this build called the lobster build. On top of this, I have this perk that is wildly overpowered called Perseverance, which reduces all types of incoming damage by 3. So after you already have your 75% physical damage reduction, all the damage on top of that gets reduced by 3. So someone will whack you and it'll only do like 2 damage to you. So I'm not about to be left behind. Let's go ahead and level up Cleric. Now, there's also another benefit over running this over Fighter in 3s, in that you can just heal yourself in the middle of a fight. And when you're only taking like 2 damage a hit, then you're pretty much getting off scot-free. And on top of that, the Perseverance perk that I was talking about is really good against Fireball, because Fireball does those extra ticks of damage afterwards. It reduces each of those by 3 as well. So, of course, a wizard can still kill you here. A wizard can always kill you in those physical damage reduction setups. But this basically means that you counter every class except for wizard right now, just as one character. And then on top of that, you don't need to frontline always. I mean, you're a cleric. You're a really good support character. You're healing your team. You're a necessity even when you're not the person frontlining for your team. But somehow, Cleric is better for frontlining right now than even Fighter is, or I want to say Barbarian, but it is still not as fast as Barbarian, so it's not as aggressive, but if you get in a slow fight, it definitely would be better than Barbarian, which is wild for a support class. And also here, Perseverance helps if you get hit by the goblins in the goblin caves, because each of those poison ticks, those get reduced by 3 damage, so they get minimized out to 1 damage each. Here we have a start on the set. We have a heater shield, and I also got a hound skull earlier. Hound skulls are really good, and quite frankly, if I were Iron Mace, I'd be taking hound skulls away from clerics as well when they remove the Ruby Silver Cuirass. Leave those to the fighters, they can have that, because it just gives a ton of armor, and it basically makes all of the other plate armor helmets for Cleric obsolete. No one ever uses them, and you'll see later on in this video, I get one with like plus 10 armor rating that's a tier up above this Hound Skull, and it's still not worth wearing. It's just worse. Either the items need to be balanced out a little better, or a Hound Skull probably also needs to go from Cleric. So yeah, basically, Cleric is just super, super tanky, and this makes it super good for frontlining, and I'm not seeing many people frontlining Cleric still, except for the people who are extremely, extremely good at the game in High Roller, the people who farm High Roller leaderboards, and those guys basically just wipe lobbies without even trying. And with these bugs, you can just move back left and right, and you can repeatedly dodge them. However, if you do get hit by them once, they do slow you. Their attack slows you. You will not be able to dodge them anymore. The best bet you have then is if they're at like hip level with you, you can actually jump over their shot if you time it correctly. And I get a couple of treasures over here. And this room is really good for XP. I generally don't like doing goblin caves to level up, because you level up just so much slower in goblin caves than you do in crypts. There's so much less stuff to kill, and you don't get to go to the inferno, which has way higher XP dropping enemies. And here I got a little bit greedy with this Wayhander. I just really wanted to kill him quickly, and I poked my head up and I got slapped there. Basically what you need to do is crouch and look down, Now, if you do run into a nightmare one, which is like a dark gray one and they move super fast, keep in mind they don't just have 2 attacks, they have 3 attacks. So they'll have a top level one, a mid level one, and both of those you can dodge by looking down at the ground and crouching. On that 3rd attack, though, when they are scraping along the ground, you actually need to jump over it. But you're not really going to run into nightmares, Zweihander skeletons unless you're doing high roller inferno, or if you get really unlucky, and they are probably some of the hardest base enemies in the game. Okay, we're just killing skeletons here, and we get some plate boots as well. Plate boots are great because they give extra strength and a little bit extra physical damage reduction. But I do want to show off here just how weak the gray gear is compared to something like a purple or anything like that. The base armor rating goes up so much, whereas by the cloth items and anything like that, you go up to a purple and the armor rating is basically no different. It's like 2 higher. With this, it's like doubled. So plate armor is just really wacky on the scales as far as that goes. I don't know why they decided to make plate armor like that, but not make cloth armor scale as well, or maybe realistically they should bring plate armor back from scaling this well, or just make everything scale this well. I'm fine either way. Once again, this game is in early access, and the developers have been putting out updates crazy fast, and it's been amazing just how much this game has been getting balanced and how quickly it's been getting balanced over time. Because class-based games always start off super unbalanced. This is very normal. And you can see here I get hit by this bug, and what that means is that second shot was basically guaranteed to hit me. Not a good time. But the nice thing about Cleric is you can always heal yourself, which is why this is actually a really good character to go with if you are a new player to the game, because you might not know the PvE attacks well, and then you can go ahead and heal yourself up. And I hear another person in this room next to me, but this room here with the spiders actually has a lot of good loot because the 1-slot treasure items are worth way more per slot than the 4-slot items are, or the 2-slot ones. And you want to pick as many of those up as possible. If you get an inventory full, you're going to get about 200 gold out every time. And you might see people, if you look on any community discussion boards like the Dark and Darker Reddit, that people go, I can't make it out with any more than 100 gold from goblin caves. And that's because they're picking up those 4-slot items, and they might be picking up like some gray gear items or something like that that really aren't worth anything. Goblin caves has really horrible loot other than just 1-slot treasure items. And that's because the map is easy. They wanted to make certain that the loot goes along with that. And right there, a warlock tries to hellfire me from like super far away, or maybe he's trying to kill a mob down there or something. I don't know, but there wasn't a skeleton champion in that room with the gold chest earlier, and I don't know why. And here, I'm going a little too aggressive. I should be whacking it once and then putting up my shield, I mean to say. But the nice thing is, I went in there with a shield, and I still have more healing. So even if you play poorly on Cleric, it really doesn't matter, because you can just heal yourself up, and it doesn't matter at all. Cleric is also quite good for combat. The main problem with Cleric is that they are slow, but if someone pushes you, you can just cast protection on yourself, which is basically like a shield pot, except it stacks with shield pots, and then you can clock someone over the head. I see this guy's a warlock here, and I decide, absolutely not, I don't want to fight him. Maybe he has, Blow of Corruption, and that's going to take out 80% of my health even if he hits me. Even if I kill him, that's all my health gone. What's the point of fighting this guy? And he probably doesn't have that much loot. This fighter, though, he looks like he's got loot. I want to kill him. Let's go ahead and do that. And he goes ahead and hides over there. I'm going to kill this bat real quick, and I know he's going to buff up in that other room. I hear him pull out a potion, and I'm pulling out my own stuff. I kind of wanted to stay close to the door because I'm baiting him here. He is not going to be able to catch up to me in time because he has plate armor on. And he's also got a longsword, which slows you down a lot. Longswords are good, but they are not very good for pushing. And I put on my smite here. Smite goes straight through armor, which makes it really good, but I am getting clocked here. I do end up killing him. If I had a bit more headshots there, I wouldn't get messed up so bad. And the dude on top of me is that warlock who seemed really friendly. I'm not actually too worried about him, but I am going to heal up here because I just need more health. And I did realize earlier that I did not swap out my spells. I have Cleanse on and Holy Light. Holy Light is big heals for other teammates. I don't have any teammates, so I should be going with Sanctuary, which is an AoE heal, and it can also heal me. And right here, I made a mistake for a second. I'm shift plus right clicking some of those items onto the ground there. I did that on accident. I was shift plus right clicking because I was getting some stuff out of my own inventory that was 4 slaughters. 4 slaughters are better than nothing, and 6 slaughters are better than nothing, but you really want these individual slaughters if possible. And I actually dropped a whole bunch of the single slaughters underneath all of that junk, and I don't want to go through with picking all that up, so I'm just going to go use this escape portal before this warlock gets any ideas, because I clocked this guy. He should have been able to hear me getting slapped by the longsword. If he had any ideas, he could kill me here. And I'm going to check his loot. He actually has some decent items on him. A couple blue windlass crossbows and a blue double axe. Maybe he looted a golden chest. He's got a ring of courage, too. Like, some pretty decent stuff on. But the reason why he didn't want to fight is because he was at half health already. Clerics, you should always expect to go into the fight with them on full health. Now, you can see here, I am still level 1, only 42 XP. If I do an inferno run from level 1, I can get all the way to level 4 in a single run sometimes. That's quite uncommon. Normally, you'll get to level 3 in a little ways to level 4. But yeah, but the nice thing about this is just how many items I have here to sell. There's so many items to sell, and this allows me to go ahead and buy Templar armor, and plate legs, and gauntlets, and a couple health pots. Also gonna sell the oil lantern here, and I'm taking the invis pot off because I meant to use it later. I do not end up using it later. I forgot to bring it in on my later Crypts run, but that was the point of that. Now I'm going to go ahead, buy some better armor. Yeah, let's just go ahead, get a whole set. He's actually got it all in stock for me, which is very unlikely, by the way. It's quite common that he won't have Templar armor in stock. And the weaponsmith has a flanged mace for me that I'm definitely going to buy because that is a huge upgrade. That's like a 50% damage upgrade over what I had before in terms of how much time it takes to kill things, because spiders will be 1 shot, players will be 3 shot instead of 4 shot. It makes a huge difference. Buying some health pots as well, and you might be wondering, why health pots? You know, can't ever have enough healing. I always like to take in as much as possible, and I'm taking a protection potion because I can do 2 shields at once there. I can use the protection potion and then also my own shield bubble and have double the shield bubble, and then I'm going to kill just everyone. I also swap my spells out here. I put on Holy Sanctuary instead of the big heal there, and I put on Divine Strike instead of Cleanse. Cleanse is for bossing. It's very helpful against boss spells, but I'm not going bossing. I don't have teammates. And I'm just going to show you guys here real quick the disparity between low gear and high gear. Basic Templar armor is 45 armor. Purple Fine Cuirass can be 105 armor. So we're talking 2.5 times better. And that's before those rolls get put into account even. Now, you might be wondering, how do I do the lobster build? So what you need to do is you need a hound skull, you need gauntlets, you need plate legs, you need heavy boots, and a ruby silver cuirass, and then you also want a heater shield. You want all of those to be purple or above, if you can, ideally. And then you want them to have plus armor rating or plus physical damage reduction. Plus armor rating is generally better currently, but you can take either and it will work. And then when you pull out your shield and your weapon like this, that gives you a little bit more physical damage reduction because the armor rating it says on it applies to your whole body. It's not just the shield or anything like that. And so the number you see in the menu is not going to be accurate. You want to check in-game with the open details button while you have your weapon out and your shield out to see if you're actually at that 75% physical damage reduction cap. And you can also get plus armor rating and plus physical damage reduction on your rings and necklace. And that will be super helpful. And then on top of that, what you will want after that is the strength attribute or all attributes. Strength will give you extra health and extra damage, so it makes it really good for frontlining. And that is just something you absolutely want. And then realistically, if you want to hunt people down in crypts, I would recommend that you go with a wizard and then you have the wizard haste you in. That extra 15% speed would be super good. I think the meta currently is probably Cleric, Wizard, Bard. And that seems really weird because it's all classes that we would think of as support classes. Maybe you would think of Wizard as a damage class depending on the build. But they all seem kind of support class-ish. But Cleric is not really a support class right now. He's very, very good at frontlining. So he could have the song on that gives him extra speed and haste. And you could just run in there and bot people. And if they have another wizard, then your wizard can be zapping him, your bard can be shooting him with a survival bow. You just need to take out whatever other 2 characters they have. Now, if people get really good at bringing this setup, what we'll see in response is probably triple wizard groups, I'd imagine, or double wizard plus cleric, because then you can get chain lightning, stuff like that. And here I try and jump over that barrel. I didn't see it in the dark. I do have this brightened for you guys, but it's not that dark. That was honestly just a misplay by me. And that shot will kind of circle around you like magic missiles, and it hit me like that. Now, he's casting some weird spell here. I think this is to heal himself or something along those lines, and I'm just going to bop him over the head while he does this. Cleric is quite slow with plate armor on, and remember, this is physical damage reduction. It does not help with any of this magic stuff. I'm also going to pick up this Oracle robe because Cleric can do really well without plate armor on as well. Cloth armor works really well for Cleric, and you can do high knowledge, high will setups, and you can put on better spells and things like that. That will also work really well for your team, but you're not frontlining then. And it isn't the most meta thing ever, but quite frankly, this game is put together around costs. So if you can get items for cheaper that are still really strong, then that's huge, because that will allow you to run better gear sets more consistently, and that will allow you to profit more consistently and get to the super upper gear sets. But yeah, the lobster one is the absolute uppermost gear set, but you really got to spec into that plus armor rating, and you got to find some good items to run it and run it properly. Once again, the physical damage reduction towards the upper end, you are going to multiplicatively increase your health. So the higher up it gets, the more important more of it is. And here I'm just running to the circle, trying to get away from the skeleton. I don't particularly want to fight it. I could put away my weapon here and run faster, and I do. And we're going to run back over to that spider pot room. The spider pot room, once again, is very good loot. I would highly recommend you loot it if you get the chance. But I kind of just want to get into the circle here, so I think I'm going to avoid it, if I remember correctly. Okay, we're opening up the wooden door. And also, you might wonder why you weren't seeing that many of these lobster clerics before. That is because of the landmine rogue build that was a thing a couple days ago. Basically, you could get 2-shot even through the uppermost physical damage reduction gear, because rogues have some amount of magical damage, and they had that weak point that was removing a lot of their physical damage reduction. And because Rogue has been nerfed into Oblivion now, you're not going to see it very much in High Roller, and that counter is not available anymore. So basically, this is what happens. When you nerf one thing, one other thing gets really out of line really quickly that it was countering. So there's a lot of pieces that they have to balance together here if they want to get this right. And I crouched at this guy, and he looks pretty friendly. He's not running towards me or anything. He just wants to kill that spider, and he's keeping his distance on me. Good fellow. And there's a wizard attacking a dude right down there through the wooden barrier, and I'm just looking around for portals or anything like that around here. I don't particularly want to fight with that dude because I know that's the second warlock in the lobby, and I saw in the lobby that he actually had half a gear set on about, and warlocks are just not great for me. So I'm crouching with this dude but keeping my distance. I don't want to get Curse of Pain, and he dropped some heavy gauntlets for me, some blue heavy gauntlets. And I actually really love 1 to 15 goblin caves because they're kind of like this. You do get some PvP, but there's actually a lot of positive social interactions as well. So I'm going to run over here and drop him this Oracle robe that I've got. It does have some extra will. It is a pretty good buff for him. And those blue gauntlets, they're not helpful to him at all. And I look over here, and I saw that there was a dead body on the ground in a portal over here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he died to the goblin mage. And if you see in the top right, this guy actually fought 2 other people before this and killed them. So he was on really low health. He got hit once, and he died. So that's what happens to you. And I'm just going to go ahead and loot all his stuff. I didn't even look at his pendant because I know I can just put it on immediately and take it out. Doesn't really matter what it has on it. I still want it. We're going to take the surgical kit. I probably could drop my trash heater shield here and my trash gauntlets here and take some more loot from him. But, you know, hindsight 2020 moment. And I don't want to get attacked by the warlock here. And I'm kind of trying to show the warlock that that body's there so he can loot it. I think he saw it, by the way, but he's hearing another person coming up to him. And then I spectate this dude for a bit. And we're gonna get to see what happens to our buddy here who gave us the blue gauntlet. Now, he's using Hellfire on this mage to kill it. That's definitely one way to do it. It does take a significant amount of health. And as he's doing that, he wants to kill that mage so he can go loot that other warlock. This cleric comes over here and attacks him. And this cleric is not even in the proper setup, by the way. He does not have a hound skull on, and that's probably because there wasn't one in the shop for him. He instead has a Chapel Day Fur, which is really trashed compared to the Hound Skull, but he does have Templar armor on, it looks like, and he's buffing himself up and running in. And this is not looking good for our buddy, the Warlock here. Now, he's going to pull out Curse of Pain, and he casts, and he's going to do it again. This guy was actually too close, though. He should not have been casting again. He should have been pulling out his longsword and doing his Blow of Corruption. And the cleric knows that the Blow of Corruption disappears after 12 seconds, so he's trying to time him off. He should have just ran away here, the cleric. But what he actually does is block the hit. If that Blow of Corruption had hit, this warlock would definitely win this fight. And now the cleric's getting range again. You never want to give the cleric range. It looks like he has the little flashbang spell there that does 10 damage and blinds you for 2 seconds. That would kill him here. And our buddy uses Curse of Pain and doesn't notice that it is going to kill him. He does not have a perk on that lets you live at 1 HP. And I kind of thought the Curse of Pain was going to kill this guy here, but it doesn't. He's on about 2 or 3 HP. He actually ends up living and getting out after killing our buddy. He's so sad. Okay, now we're running a Crypts run, and I'm at like level 3 now, I want to say. And I am running solo as Cleric here, so I have gone ahead and I put on the one that kills the undead spell on my Q instead of Smite. You don't want the undead one for Goblin Caves because there's goblins. There's barely any skeletons. It's just not that good there. But you do want it on here. It is very good against PvE, and PvE can screw you over very badly. I find a Hound Skull in the first container I loot here. Once again, extremely lucky. And I went in with no gear on this one. I still have my other gear set. I just didn't want to be that slow in the Crypts because that extra physical damage reduction isn't going to make any difference for me against a team of 3. I would much rather run faster. The difference that a Hound Skull makes, though, in terms of PvE is actually pretty heavy because if you get headshot, it's significantly less damage. And it's like an extra 15% physical damage reduction, I want to say. Hound Skulls have a lot of armor. And I use the Holy Purification there. It kills the archer immediately, and then I bop this melee one over the head. Nice and easy. Get some rugged boots. And what I generally like to do if I'm playing a class that is not fast like Cleric is I want to find one of those lever rooms, and I just hide in it until the Inferno portals spawn. And if the Inferno portals spawn next to me, that is great. I generally try and hide in the middle of the circle if possible when I'm doing that. And those lever rooms have a lever inside generally, and you can just hide in there, close it up with the lever inside, put your torch off. You can even go and sit in there if you need to or whatever, and then you can just farm the Inferno. Oftentimes, other players will not go in the Inferno, especially in the level 1 to 14 lobbies. They're just very scared of it, even though it's not really that hard. I Holy Purification these guys, bop them over the head. And it's really good that I'm getting all of these mob kills here because that's leveling me up quickly. I get a slight upgrade on my rugged boots here. And you want to kill as many mobs as possible while you're leveling, especially if you're not bringing in much gear in the first place. You're not really going to lose much then. And I actually prefer playing in the level 15 plus lobbies, so I'm trying to level up pretty quickly here so I can play with my buddies and I can run actual sets and trade and stuff. But if you prefer the level 1 to 14 lobbies, they just are easier to run and people are less aggressive, more sociable, whereas you get people who are really sweaty in the level 15 plus lobbies, and I can understand why that's not fun to play for a lot of people, especially if you don't have a couple hundred hours on this game. I would definitely prefer the level 1 to 14 lobbies. And you're perfectly allowed to keep playing those and resetting your characters whenever. I do like trading, though. Now I'm breaking these pots, getting some loot. I'm going to pick up that torch, but I actually don't end up throwing any torches because that would leave a little trail of destruction to find me. I'm kind of looking out for someone aggroing that zombie, but the person aggroing that zombie is actually me. There's a little bit of bugged texturing here, and it seems like it's aggroing on me through the wall. And their aggro range is infinite, both vertically, just infinite vertically. Although they have range horizontally that they can aggro. So the zombies will aggro beneath you and above you oftentimes. And over here, I find a couple barrels to break. Let's break those and get some more loot. And barrels actually have really good loot. I get some heavy gauntlets here. I'm not going to use them because I don't want to slow myself down too much. The Hound Skull slows me down only a little bit for a ton of physical damage reduction. But those heavy gauntlets are a bit of a slowdown for not much improvement. You can throw a torch on these pressure plates to go ahead and do that. And these rooms do have a lever in them in case someone steals the torch from you and tries to lock you in there. You can get yourself out. But you could also steal the torch from yourself, lock yourself in this room, and then you're just in here and you can lever yourself out later. This is one of those rooms that would be really good, but the circle just moved and I'm not in the circle anymore, so I'm not going to do it. Showing it off for you guys so you can see how it looks, and you want to hide in the corner so that no one can see you here. Don't be anywhere where they can actually see through if they come by with a torch. Generally, they will not look in these rooms. I would not worry about it usually. Do not panic. If you make a noise, they will come for you. And now I'm just checking around, trying to see what's going on here. I'm going to aggro this axe skeleton, and to kite the axe skeletons, you move around them to the left and keep bopping them. And I do end up dodging the bat here, very luckily. I kind of thought I was going to get hit there, and I close the door behind me, and I just avoid. Now I'm going to go into the pyramid room. The reason why I'm going in here is because, first off, it has good loot, and second off, I can clear it incredibly quickly for XP. So what you do is you run through here, and you're going to Holy Purification once you have aggroed them all. And this kills all of them in the entire room, as far as I can see, and that's probably a good 30 XP right there. They give 2 XP per kill, so that's great. I'm picking up the skull bat loot here out of habit, but honestly, it's not worth it, especially if I'm doing a solo inferno run here, because I'm going to get more loot. But I do get lockpicks there, which is great. And then I end up using the lockpick on this lion's head chest over here. And now let's pull out this lockpick. Okay. And I failed it, and I failed it on the first available tick to fail there. It can be quite difficult to hit the lockpick correctly if it is in that first half because reaction time. That is not to say that that is not a skill issue. That is definitely a skill issue I just had there. But yeah, I wasted the lockpick. It happened. Oftentimes better to save the lockpicks for going into the Inferno and for the gold chest in there. There's almost always a gold chest somewhere reachable by you. And the gold chest in Inferno can have some crazy good loot in them. It's quite common to pull capes and stuff. I got a slight magic staff upgrade here, which is great. If possible, though, you do want to run a spellbook on Cleric rather than a magic staff. And I'm just going to go around here looting. And I am very surprised at this point that I have not run into other players. You can see all the deaths in the top right of the screen. They just must be on the other side of the map from me. I don't know why they all ran that way, because Pyramid Room is one of the best rooms in the game for loot. You can get pendants and rings off of those guys. And here's a Chapel Day Fur with plus armor rating that's still worse than a White Hound Skull. That is pathetic. Either Cleric should not be able to wear the Hound Skull, or those need to get buffed up. I want gear options to be actual choices instead of something just being so much better than others. And I'm going to go ahead here and clear out the mummies. I'm just going to drink a health pot here because I am a little bit of health down. Let's go ahead and Holy Purification all these guys. Now, 2 bops in the head will kill these guys after that Holy Purification, but I can also just drag them through the spike trap over here, and then I only have to do 1 bop in the head. So that's what I'm going to do on these 2. Now let's bop them in the head, and because I still kill them, I still get the XP for that, which is great, because we want to power level here. I want to get to level 15 as quickly as possible. And let's get some mummies. Okay, and we're going to loot the rest of this up here because those flat chests and this stuff can have good loot. Although this is just regular crypts. And then I have also got some shrines here. So if I hear people above me, they're not going to know where I am. I mean, this is the under level 15 lobby. This is quite a niche space to be in here. And I have a power shrine and a speed shrine. I would honestly feel pretty confident attacking a 3-man in the under level 15 lobbies with a speed shrine and power shrine. But I don't hear anyone still. And we just had portals spawn right on top of me. There was definitely at least one dungeon portal and one escape portal. Now let's go ahead. We're going to get the speed shrine first to speed up getting the shrine of power. Although I do think the speed shrine is a bit better than the power shrine. And then we're going to run our happy butt out of here. Opening up this lever. And then I'm just going to go immediately to the first dungeon portals I see and not take PvP. Because PvP does not give any XP, so I don't really care about it. And also the loot they're going to have in lower than level 15 dungeons, basically nothing. So what's the point? Let's just go to Inferno and get some loot. Now I'm going to speed through this. I'm resorting my inventory, showing off that I can bless myself and rest to get my spells back up. You can always rest to get your spells back up if you have used them. The lower the spell cost on the spell, the faster it'll come back. So your shield bubble comes back really fast. Your bless comes back really fast. Lesser heal kind of fast, and then your Sanctuary or Holy Light are going to come back super slow. And if you run something like Resurrect and you have 2 teammates down, you can resurrect both of them, but it's going to take you a while to get all that back. This zombie's throwing poison at me through the wall. That's really fun, and he can keep throwing more poisons. I've got to kill him. And the reason why I went into that corner over there to Holy Purification is because that archer oftentimes will start shooting at me as I'm attacking the hellhounds, and that gets really annoying. I guess they're called demon dogs. I think hellhounds are something that they've been working on, if I remember correctly. And you can hear the archer shooting at me. That's because I have done Holy Purification. I'm kind of just waiting for my Holy Purification to come back here so I can hit him again. And kind of waiting for the poison clouds to go away, which is really annoying. I wish they would make them shorter or give you a way to get rid of them. Like bashing them with your torch or something. Now I'm looting the zombie again because I forgot that I actually looted him already. And I'm going to walk past these poison clouds real quick because we don't got time to dawdle. Now, I'm going to pull the Hellhound and I'm just going to kite them. And I don't kite them perfectly here. Now, some people in the last video when I was doing this told me, hey, you just need to run to the left or to the right. That is not accurate. And when they're running, they have a different attack that is much, much harder to dodge. You do need to back up from them and go left and right. And they do have quite the attack range that is not within their hit range. So if you get within that bubble, then you can just go left or right. But if they're right on top of you and you just go left and right, you're going to get beat up by them. It's just not going to be a good time for you. And I clear out that bat right there. And I also aggroed the mage, which means I probably hit it with my Holy Purification. I'm just going to loot this chest over here. Nope, not going to loot it because I'm worried that it's going to shoot me through the bars there, which it can do, by the way. And I'm going to get it to fireball itself here. This is the best way for me to kill it. Fireball yourself again. And watch out that they don't get too close to the pillars or anything here because their fireballs will clip through if their hand is in the pillar. It is a massive problem, and those fireballs will do like 75% of your health. Now I'm looting this. There's a clarity potion in there. Not really any good loot so far. And if I remember correctly, I don't really get any good loot this hell run. But it's a hell run as Cleric at the end of the day. It's not like I'm on Ranger or something. We whack that bat right there to kill it. Once again, I am on Cleric, so I can just heal myself up. I got plenty of extra HP. Really think of your spells when you're a solo Cleric as your extra HP pool. That doesn't necessarily mean you want to just waste it. But if you just, you know, miss an attack or something and get hit, it's not a very big deal and you can just heal yourself up. Now, as I go into this next demon dog here, this hallway is kind of annoying to kite them in, so I'm casting protection on myself. I massively fail on attacking this demon dog because I'm trying the just left and right, but I'm not actually far enough out of their range for a lot of this. I need to be like 1 or 2 steps further back, which would have been very difficult with those barrels behind me. Still not very good loot from any of this. It happens. You can get blues, purples off of those hellhounds, and they can be very good. You can get blues off of the regular chests here, but I'm just not getting anything. It happens. It's not a very big deal. There's a mimic here. I'm going to clock him, and I actually hear a person behind me when I'm doing this. In that northernmost room on the map, there's someone in there. And I believe they just stood up from resting. And I am not going to question my hearing here. A lot of people seem to think they're schizophrenic when they hear very far footsteps away. That is 100% a person. And so I need to play a little bit more carefully here and make certain not to just run into that room willy-nilly, because they will kill me, or they'll drag mobs on me that'll kill me. It just wouldn't be a good time. Now we're going to jump over here and loot some chests. And I get a torch. Oh boy. Torches are nice when you're actually able to throw them, but I want to be a bit more stealthy than that here and not just leave a trail to myself. And also, when you're in the inferno already, you can be getting some really good items out of these chests, and I'd rather one of those good items than a torch, but, you know, it's just RNG. Loot this guy, and I'm really just not getting any loot. I'm not going to go break those barrels because there's spike traps above both those chests, and I don't want to get hit by those. This room is actually really easy to cross. You can go to the left here and go through the boss room. And I hear that this little fly is coming towards me, and I believe I halt. These things actually do quite a bit of damage. I do have the Perseverance perk on here, which hugely reduces it on Cleric. So these guys are basically non-threats on Cleric. But if you're on any other character, keep that in mind that these guys can be massive threats. Especially the Nightmare versions. If you get hit by like 2 of their poison splats, it can take out half your health bar. And we have some white plate boots in there. Don't really want them. Really, the higher ranking plate boots and plate gear is really good, but the lower ranking stuff just isn't too great. Okay, and I'm closing this behind me. As long as you're behind these torches and no one else is in the boss room, you can sit here and the boss does not aggro. The spot that aggroes is going past the torches. And I'm just getting my spells back here for a moment as well. And now what I'm going to do is run through the boss room. It is the Lich, which is the easiest one to run past. I don't have an invis pot, which always makes this quite a bit easier when you have the invis pot. But I'm going to run over here because this area seems the safest to me. And I thought the boss was not going to have a direct sightline on me, but he does here. And he actually shoots me. I'm not certain if he hit me in the head there, if it was just in the back, but he did a lot of damage to me. But I'm playing Cleric. Let's use Sanctuary here to heal up. It heals a lot of health. And you can hear the people around me moving around in these rooms above me. So there's 100% people here. And there's also someone in the room to the north of me, which is likely where the portals are going to spawn. If you kill the boss fast enough, the portals can spawn in that room, if I remember correctly. But if the boss is not dead, the portals are not supposed to spawn in there anymore. And these dudes are just moving around, and it doesn't sound like a 3-man, so I'm not super worried, but I don't want to fight them and the Inferno monsters at the same time. That is not a good time. I'm going to run past again here and go back into this room in the north. I can still hug around the edges and not fight any of the hard Inferno mobs. Just fight, you know, some bugs or something like that. There's another chest over here. And with the amount of chests I've looted in this one and the amount of demon dogs I killed and looted, it's really quite unlucky the amount of loot I got. But then I do get these blue agility gloves. They have really bad rolls on them, but yeah, you can get blues out of it. It happens sometimes. Not every Inferno run is going to have incredibly good items. Sometimes RNG is not in your favor, and sometimes it is. And I hear these guys open up a portal, and I'm wondering if they're going to leave or if they're going to push me here. Kind of trying to figure that out. Staying back on this chest, so if they push into me, what I'm thinking of is if they push here, I can just bop them, and they will fall into the pit as they're jumping towards me. But they don't seem to be pushing me, not a big deal. I am going to buff up before I go in this room. It might have just been one guy who left there. I did hear a portal get taken. And there are 2 more portals in this room. I don't see a sign of anyone, but I do see a sign of a demon berserker through that door. And there is a portal spawn here, by the way, that allows you to completely screw a demon berserker and get it completely stuck here. So I'm gonna check that and see if I can kill him right now, but I don't have much time. Bop, bop, and it is not the spot. It needs to be like a bit more horizontal towards the door, and it isn't facing the correct way. So yeah, I just got out as Cleric solo. There were other people in Inferno with me, but I avoided them perfectly fine. It isn't very difficult to get through Inferno as any class, and now I'm up to level 5. And let's go ahead and sell the loot real quick so you guys can see how much I made. I don't think it was anything more than on any of the Goblin Cave runs because I don't even have a full inventory here. But you make most of your money from the gear items that are blue or sometimes even a rare purple from out of here. And we're just going to sell this dagger because rogue is useless, especially with the new daggers. And silver coins, I've heard some people say that they don't pick up silver coins because they're not worth it. 30 silver coins is worth 10 gold, so it's generally worth picking up. Anyways, guys, if you liked this video, subscribe for more. And I put out Dark and Darker videos daily.